Greetings, we're in Torino, Bella Italia. I've been hired for our on-site setup and installation guidance service. We come to your location, guiding you through every step of your installation, including acoustic measurements throughout. We can maximize your studio's potential with precision setup. Okay, would you please walk me through the setup?
Here we will have the main mixing desk in this position, and then I think also to have another place here, another desk for composing. And so I want to have these two parts to here to compose just the music, and for the mixing and all the post-production things to have this type of
Still one main speaker system?
Yeah. Sometimes I also use some
reference monitors.
Yeah, and also 5.1 surround system. But yeah, for the main music, it's just a stereo. And we have this big console to fit here.
We've had a large shipment of King Kong trap here and here. My babies, they're all grown up, fleeing the nest. So we have some limitations here though, right? Yeah. The ceiling, we cannot install on the ceiling.
No. There is a heating system, and so yeah, it's very dangerous.
We don't have plans of the heating system that's going to be installed. So we're going to set up this room for high-end audio production purposes. It's a large room. Our limitations are the ceiling can't be touched in this basic installation. Maybe after the whole process we can look how it is, and if we have to address it later, we can move some things after the heating system is built. So that means the all-important wall-to-ceiling corners on the sides and the front and back of the room will not be able to be installed. These are bass trap function location. Our cloud position also cannot be installed. That's an early reflection function position. Solutions for this. What we're going to do, we'll measure throughout while installing so you get to see the results of each stage of the process. Reason that we put bass traps in the corners is that it reaches a deep wavelength to absorb without taking up loads of space in the room. If we can't take out some corners, now remember we want to take out as many corners as we can simultaneously because these synergistically affecting different dimensions of the room. The dimensions are creating the low frequency problems that are disturbing the rest of the frequency spectrum. So the reason that we install into the corners, it's the least intrusive, least invasive, most practical way to treat the lowest frequencies possible. If we can't do some, we have to compensate with others. So if we can't get into this corner, for example, or this corner, we try to find other locations that would have the same function, essentially, with a pinch of salt, or pinch of Parmigiano. Now what we can also do is we can build stacks out of the absorbers. We can build walls out of them and bring them in from the walls, right? So we can't get into this nice practical corner up here. Maybe what we do is we build in. This corner down here, quite similar to this corner up there, and most people don't seem to realize this. So there's a few things we can do, and stay tuned and find out. Tape on a metal floor is a special sound. Do you want to read the dimensions out to me when you have them?
Okay. Sure.
Precise dimensions of the room is, however, very important. We would recommend to start, between 37 and 38% of the length of the room. So you measure the length and you do times 0.38 equals, take that number, then start your measurement position from there, go back and forward 20 centimeters and get your sweet spot. A man loves a woman. Please, do you have any tape?
Yes.
To mark on the floor? Bella Italia. So this is the center of the room, but actually I think this is the center of the room because the boundary is this. Something interesting as well, we're going to see interference of this boundary. Come out here. Because this is going to mess us up. This low frequency energy is going to take the path of least resistance and go around and play with us. Next we need the length of the room times 38, right? That's rounded up. It's times 37.75. But we're working in practical terms, a system you can simply follow. From this wall, 38% of the length will be 283.5, roughly. Now, what I would do here is just, since we know, hey, I would lengthen this out on each side of that, and then you can line these up. I mean, if the tape's straight enough, I mean, you can see that's a right angle, so you know that's the right line. We can also just measure, oh, that works too. You're smarter than me. So, here's the first positions that we want to measure from. Now we want to go back and forward 20 centimeters and make a cross at each point. So we're going to do 20, 40, 20, 40. And I think that will be enough to do our first measurements. What's interesting is when we do measure the room, a lot of sound energy is escaping into here. It's again the path of least resistance. It doesn't want to be limited by spaces that we've created. It wants to live on its own terms. It wants to be free. So it's going through here, and it's going to benefit from these massive velocity absorber stacks that we've built. Welcome to Jurassic Park. Setting up the speakers for your initial measurements at least. Start with your first measurement position. Your speakers need to be in an equilateral triangle. So, it's kind of a little puzzle. They also have to be equidistant from the surfaces on each side of them, and to the front of them and back of them and every other surface. Like, if you want a good stereo image and good sound stage, etc., you need symmetry. So we need to be equidistant from the side walls, same distance from this far corner of your speaker to the outside wall. It means you need the same distance from this first measurement position to this speaker, which is the same distance from this speaker to this speaker, which is the same distance from this speaker to this first measurement position. When you want to determine the angle of your speakers, look at the center of your speaker and look at center point you're trying to face it to, right? Both of those should aim like this. So you move them until this triangle is perfect and they're the same distance from here. Now obviously the triangle can get bigger or smaller. It's an equilateral triangle. Therefore, we need a rule for that too. The rule is we want to be as close to the front wall as possible, or we definitely need a bass trap in between. We're going to do both. So we're going to have a nice equilateral triangle here. So this is how you get that, by looking this way. And then you test it by going the other way around. So to double check the position, you sit in your listening position and move your head forward, and the sides of your speakers should be revealed at the same time. So you sit in front so that you see the front. The front should look at you. A test from the front to check that they're at the same position as each other is move your head forward, and this surface reveals itself at the same time as that surface on the other speaker reveals itself. You go back and forward like a little yo-yo to check. Practical tips to set up your speakers. It's important to look at this as a measurement that's getting ever more accurate. The first time you measure from the side walls, from the back walls, you won't get it 100% once you have to move something in the system, right? There's constants and variables. This is a constant. This is the first thing we can measure from. The thing we've already set and the first thing we have to set. Then we have to measure this. We have to get this together. If we move something towards a wall, if we move something towards a wall, it will mess up our equilateral triangle. Then we have to fix a triangle. Then we have to fix something else. It's constant adjustment. So if you really spend a lot of time getting it 100% perfect, you'll mess it up. So you start with 95% accuracy, 95%, measure again, 96, 96, 96, 97, 97, 98, 98, 99, 99, 99, 100. But you have to measure that with like 10 to 20 small adjustments. We suggest using KRK rockets. No, it actually doesn't matter too much. What we're doing is measuring the resonances that are in the room, right? If we only measured with one speaker, that would be enough to tell us where the resonances are. Of course, we measure with two because we can see all kinds of things more accurately. We would otherwise have a lot of problems with comb filtering, phase cancellation, blah, 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 blah. But, yeah, if you have two speakers, use two speakers. If you just have KRKs, use KRKs. Again, the difference in peaks and nulls in the response of a speaker is nothing compared to your room. And you don't have enough to treat the whole room to the point that those speaker peaks and nulls are so important because you don't have 100 grand. So, if you do have 100 grand, I can totally design this for you. It's going to be really sweet. And remember, we have based this on this wall. Yeah. But we have another wall. Yeah. It's also possible to build a boundary that you just use as a movable wall, or put another wall there. The problem is, anyway, again, low frequency energy will take the path of least resistance, and yeah, there's always a balance, aesthetics, acoustics, function, and you know, most people don't want to put these extra walls in their space. It is a solution for some things. There will still be also oblique reflections going mad around it. What can you do? No one has perfection, absolutely no one. There's like a few studios on Earth that are like almost perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. It doesn't actually exist. If it did, we wouldn't need to evolve anymore. And evolution is basically the meaning of life, because growth is transformation, is evolution. And if evolution is to the species, then transformation is to the individual. So transform your room with Kiss Your Ears, bass traps. Ooh. I mean, why do we do this? Because it helps people grow. We facilitate, we provide spaces, we provide solutions, we provide ways to transform spaces. It's a sacred space. This is what people need to grow. I was like a wreck until I went to go study music, and it put me on that path to sorting everything out. It was like a snowball effect. And that's why I have a great passion to facilitating places where people can go and heal their shit making music. Like, that's the thing. That's really the thing. It's also a collaborative process. It's an artwork that we make together. I cannot decorate the space for you, but I can decorate it acoustically, you know? When that goes together aesthetically, I mean, look at it now. This is a lot of possibility, opportunity. Putting your microphone on the little tape crosses you've made. Basically, it's not the mic stand, it's the microphone. If it's facing upwards, it's easier. You want to look down and see a cross with a microphone in the middle. Now, moving it, it's as simple as this. Lift, move to your next position, look down at the right position. Critique, obviously, that you're in the center each way. Boom. I want to move it again to try this position. Da-da-da-da. Here's a little extra. The speaker position is based upon these boundaries. So we're not going to move the speakers to check the other wall positions. It's such a weird way to say it. Let me just say this. We've got two sets of center points of the room because we have the imaginary boundary, but the reality of what's coming out of the speaker is going to hit off of this boundary, something we have to factor in. The more data, the merrier. Noise music, the best. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I've loaded the basic dimensions, length, width, height, into a room mode calculator. Then I'm seeing this picture of how the modes are distributed in the room. It also gives a really nice little overview here that you can work with without so much visual information. I prefer that actually, but for this purpose, oops, we're going to use this one. when we go over one of the modes, it will show us a graph of which dimension in the room it's affecting. So for example, this one here, it's length. This is width. This one is again length. It's a multiple of the first one. Height. And as you can see, all of these frequencies and all of these dimensions in increasing complexity are messing up your room. This is happening in every room actually. Boom, 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 boom. So we take these frequencies that I've calculated easily, look at our measurement data, and we want to basically have them line up. We want to understand if the things that we're seeing here are the problems that we're seeing here in terms of resonant peaks. The reason that we're looking at, I'm concentrating really on the sub-bass, bass, and low mids. I would argue that here we have sub-bass, here we have bass until here, 300 hertz, then we're on low mids. I show that because it shows us where the fundamental problems of the room are that will re-replicate up the frequency spectrum. We know that's true because we can just take this calculator and look at how much more frequent the problems are as it goes up. It's the same original problems, re-replicating. Let me show you quickly on here. I'll show you up to 10,000 hertz instead of 500 hertz. You can see the problem is all the way up. And I theorize that by taking care of the resonances here, we've automatically taken care of all these resonances here. And this is the main thing we're aiming for, removing the low frequency resonances of the room, or all of the resonance of the room. I mean, this then it becomes reverb. This is the reverb time. Speaking of reverb time, it's a bloody mess. We want to see something more like, not this. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's very basic terms, but that's the general gist of what we're doing.